Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to MoCo Assistance. Today is March 28th, year of our Lord 2025, coming to you with a special report. County Council pushing another affordable housing plan. This comes about the failed plans from other council members like Jawando and others last year who failed to push and to make this make their plan viable. And today we have two council members who are co-sponsoring this new initiative. Former Council President Andrew Friedson and Natalie Fanny Gonzalez. So this comes about, again, a failed attempt at addressing the issues of housing in the county. And we have, again, another attempt that is going to fail, that it does not address the issues pertinent to housing in the county. And this is gaslighting basically by the county council, who are dead set in pushing this narrative that we have a housing crisis in the county. So let's get into it. There was a meeting yesterday, March 27th, Thursday. There was a joint committee meeting at the council. So there were two committees meeting to discuss this issue. There was the Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee and also the Economic Development Committee. And this is one of the quotes from one of the co-sponsors of the new initiative, Natalie Gonzalez, who said, "MoCo has been the leader on affordability in providing housing. We're a role model for the nation." Again, this is gaslighting from the county council, who are dead set in not addressing the issues and pushing a narrative and an agenda that is not at all addressing the issues that are of concern of residents, like rising property taxes, rising utility bills, rising crime all over the county, and also the potential of a beyond 30% increase in trash fees. So this is what we have. This is what the residents are faced with. And again, this is not conducive to anything positive for the residents. And that's why you see a lot of people leaving the county and a lot of businesses leaving the county as well. So what is this plan? The latest that we know is that, again, both Andrew Friedson and Gonzalez sponsored this new plan called NOW, which stands for New Options for Workers. And the plan contemplates creating multi-family homes in several county transit corridors. So if you live in on University Boulevard, if you live on Randolph Road, if you live on 355 Rockville Pike, that's going to affect you. So what are the details on this? So zoning text amendments, or ZTAs. So the council is amending these ZTAs, the zoning text amendments. And also they're amending the subdivision regulation amendments, or SRAs. And this is likely, on the initial study, going to affect more than 2,400 lots that may be affected under this plan. So some details on the NOW initiative. So zoning text amendment 25-02, it says main element of NOW allows for multifamily housing along major roadways. So again, we're going to show the map later on, but this is what they're going to use. They're going to use ZTA 25-02 to implement this. And also they're going to use ZTA 25-03, which allows conversion of commercial properties to residential building, with the caveat that these commercial buildings must have a 50% vacancy rate. So as we all know, most commercial buildings in the county are empty because of the failed economic policies that have been pushed by the council in terms of increasing investment, trying to bring companies and investment to our county, and that has failed. So there is more than 50% vacancy rate. So that checkbox has been crossed, and this also aligns with Expedited Bill 2.25, which says Developers who opt for ZTA 25-03 would be exempt from property taxes for 25 years. So again, this decision was not, well thought of. It wasn't consulted by the stakeholders, and it was not consulted by the residents writ large. So what is the problem with this plan? The ZTA is developed without input from the county planning department. So this is a unilateral decision by the council to create a plan that is not going to address anything. It's going to put a lot of pressure, financial tax pressure on us residents, and it's going to deplete the low interest of investment that already is happening in the county. Secondly, the plan relies on funding from existing and new taxes. Again, so who's going to pay for this? We are. We are going to pay for this because the Eldridge and his council are already increased our taxes last year, and they are going to increase taxes again this year by 3.5%, as already noted in previous episodes and information. I mean, this information is widely known, so if you're a resident, if you don't know this information, it's time for you to get active, get informed. And thirdly, council unilaterally created this plan without any resident input. So this is what we have. This is a now program that from the initial outset is ill-conceived, and it's not going to be anything. It's not going to produce any positive results for the county or for people who are seeking housing. So, for this reason, we have invited Amy Waychoff from the GOP, who's been following this issue closely. And who is Amy? Amy is a Republican. She's a Central Committee member. She's a county resident, of course, and she's a political activist. But most importantly, she's a patriot. So without any further ado, here's Amy with more details on the now affordable housing initiative. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to MoCo Assistance interview. Today we have the pleasure of having Amy Waychoff. Amy has been a political activist and currently working on identifying and informing the public on what's going on with affordable housing in Montgomery County. So, Amy, thank you for joining us. The first question we ask is, are you part of the resistance?
Yes.
Awesome. Welcome to the channel, and I'll let you introduce yourself to the residents.
Well, I've lived in Montgomery County since 1987. The scrimped and saved, living in a small apartment for 6.5 years before we were able to buy a house. And I started getting active politically about 10 years ago when my kids started getting older. I was a stay-at-home mom. And originally I started with national politics, but we could, and then more and more I got interested in local politics because that's what affects us day to day. Saw that they were just taxing us all the time, and I got very involved in what's happening at the state level because so many of those laws affect us dramatically. And then, of course, do what I can to help whatever local ballot initiative is going on, or door knocking if I can for various candidates. And in terms of when I started looking at the attainable housing and the affordable housing issues in Montgomery County, I really wasn't that interested in that initially. But as the 2024 campaign was, I saw a lot of things starting to happen in the summer, last summer, and then the presidential campaign was happening. And for a variety of reasons, I wasn't able to do the door knocking. So I thought that I would focus on this when everybody else was so busy door knocking and doing what they could for the presidential election. And
So
so I just
you're a member of the GOP MoCo. office, correct?
Yeah, so I didn't join until 2021. I was filling a vacancy. So I was already doing all the work, and someone said, you should be on the central committee. And so that just means that in addition to what I was already doing, I go to more meetings and give more presentations. Um, but you can still be an activist without being on the central committee. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yes, we need all the bodies possible in the office, in the GOP office in Montgomery County, because we are fighting a machine and we need volunteers. We need the office is gearing up for, selecting candidates to represent the party in next year's midterm election. So a shout out to everybody in the county that we need your hands, we need your expertise, whatever writing, publishing. If you have a bunch of friends who are, in a music band, maybe we need that in order to create an event so we can raise money for the candidates and for the party as a whole. So, thank you, Amy, for all your work you've done. I've seen you in my you know, since I started going to the office in 2022. And I've seen you've always been there, very active, very engaged in all the activities. So thank you. And Amy is an example of the many, many people who give up their free time and available time to work for the party. So thank you on behalf of the residents who are watching this. So let's start with an update on affordable housing. Last week we presented the episode 38, which we touched on, but we wanted to hear the exact details from your point of view. So what is this now initiative?
So it's more housing now, and now stands for new opportunities for workers. So in response to a lot of public outcry about the Attainable Housing Initiative from last fall, this initiative is trying to say, well, we want to help lower income people, like people who are firefighters and school teachers. And so that's what the workforce housing is all about. It's called ZTA 25-02. So that's the main one. And that one is going to take houses along the major corridors. If you think back to Thrive 2050, that was all about the major corridors and trying to increase transit and get more people to live with fewer cars and things like that. And so along Georgia Avenue, University, Connecticut, Massachusetts, maybe Randolph, any of these large roads, someone could choose to tear down their house. Look, this is not eminent domain. County isn't going to come and tear down your house. You can choose to, and then you still have to go through a little bit of oversight by the planning department. And then the developer that you choose could put in a duplex or a triplex, or a townhouse or a small apartment building. And the then the real problem with all of this is well, let me backtrack a little bit. So when they put this housing in, 15% of it has to be workforce housing. So in other words, the 85% of the houses would be subsidizing lower prices on 15% of the houses. And that housing has to be affordable to people who make between like 70 and 120% of the average median income in the county. And what's really interesting about this is number one, it's only 15%. And when so 85% of it could be extremely expensive. And it incentivizes developers to put duplexes in over all the others because it's not an exact 15%. You can't take a duplex and say, well, 15% of it is workforce housing. When you do a triplex, it'll be one out of the three buildings will be workforce housing. So that one's higher than 15%. That's 33%. When it's but when it's a small apartment building, it'll definitely be 15%. But with a duplex, it's key. They are not requiring any workforce housing when it's a duplex, because then it would have to be 50% workforce and 50% market rate. And that's just not that's not really a workable solution, because and so it's understandably not included there. Well, sometimes public policy has perverse consequences, and what's going to happen is that um this makes a huge incentive for the developers to do duplexes, so it'll totally defeat the whole plan. Other issues are the infrastructure, that there's no way to make sure we have enough housing for the supposed more families that will move in. Um, that there won't be the roads and stormwater problems abated and things like that. Now that costs money, and where's that going to come from? Um, and then a really big issue for me is something called NOAH, which is NOAH. It stands for Naturally Occurring Affordable Housing. And so a lot of these houses, especially on the eastern side of the county, along these major roadways, are on the cheaper side because they're on a major roadway and because on the eastern side of the county. So that's what I call naturally occurring affordable housing. I don't call it, other people do. And if you tear them down those kind of houses, build a duplex there, maybe it's not going to be uh, each $1 million like in Bethesda or Chevy Chase, but it could be extremely expensive for people living there. And so I think and a lot of those are going to be minorities, because you do have more minorities in the lower income brackets in our county. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
And so you might displace them. It might create gentrification, and so you're hurting the very people that you were hoping to help. Another issue is they finally agreed to do a study on why there's over 30,000 units in the pipeline, in the development pipeline, that developers just need to pull the permit. It's a very complicated situation, though. And so there's been debates with the planning department on this. And so they finally agreed to do an in-depth study, like they had to contract that out. Well, so the public is saying, along with the other issues I said, why not at least wait till this study is done? Because that brings up the whole issue is there really a desperate need for all this housing?
That was going to be my question. That was going to be my first question. Okay, so I go around the county. I mean, you go around the county. You go to meetings. I go to the air park neighborhood meeting when I can, and others. And I don't hear any concern about, hey, there we have, we need housing, and there are a lot of people looking for housing. I don't hear that. What are you hearing from
Well,
residents on this issue?
okay. I mean, there are a lot of young people who want housing, but I think it's just a fact of we are living in one of the most highest cost of living areas, and housing is extremely expensive. And then otherwise, it's just part of the whole national scene in housing. You've got high interest rates. You so it's just nearly unaffordable. I don't think we could afford to buy now. So there are there are groups of people who can't afford the housing. The county thinks that the way to solve it is simple economics and increase supply,
Mm,
and that this will increase supply. But this market is already, like I said, everything is cost so high. You're not going to have a very big impact by increasing supply. So when we do have the hearings, there are the people in support of this plan. They bring in a lot of young people who talk about how they can't afford housing, and I don't just mean owning a house. The rents are so high,
mm,
and then we could get distracted and talk about rent control and say explain why the rents are so high. But it's to me, it's all part of the cost of living in this area. And so then the biggest thing that people point out is that they're so hyper focused on increasing the amount of housing without worrying enough about increasing the number of jobs. You're not going to attract people to come
You
for more housing unless you have the jobs.
correct.
And
I think you hit a nerve there where as an economist, I see this, and you correctly pointed out. The county thinks it's a supply side issue, which is not. So we have a county that its economy is basically stagnant, or if not declining. And the most jobs created in the region are not in Montgomery County. They are in Arlington County and other counties. In DC, for example, DC is outpacing Montgomery County in terms of job creation. So we have a toxic investment environment in the county that is not conducive to investment. It's not attracting big box companies, and as of late, we know that the new Trump administration is going to forego um, building the new FBI headquarters in Maryland. So that's also a negative. So yeah, I agree with your assessment on that. And yeah, there's nothing to attract people to live in Montgomery County, and I agree with that.
yeah, we have incredibly small job growth in Maryland as a whole. And then you've got the rent control and the environmental regulations. So rent control um, was instituted in 2023. And then around the same time, they've been passing these environmental regulations. It's called
Mm.
BEPS, building. Oh, I don't remember now what it stands for, but those two combined, people, developers are saying that we're a pariah that in the real estate development. Now I see plenty of real estate development going on in the county, but I'm thinking that they're thinking more long term now that these new things are coming up. We already have a lot of regulations and permitting and issues, but to add the rent control and the environmental things, the environmental things are they are going to require old apartment buildings to be retrofitted for electricity. And so Leisure World and others are suing the state and the county over this issue. And a new housing would have to have electricity. But I think with the apartment buildings, that's where the real problem is because I've heard numbers as high as, $50 to $100,000 per unit to of fees to pay for it all. I mean, it's incredibly expensive. And the county with these kind of policies, they just double down. They don't.
I find it ironic how the county always has these public meetings to talk about the budget, to talk about housing, etc. But they never take the comments and the concerns of the residents who attend those meetings. And I find
Mhm.
it very, very disturbing that they've done this in the past where many people were not aware of what was going on. And of course, many people trusted their policies and trusted their actions because they thought, like many residents, that, we have competent people running the county and they are making the right decisions because based on data, based on our feedback, etc. But that's not the case. So this new now initiative is being pushed by Friedson and who else?
Bonnie Gonzalez.
Amy
But
Gonzalez.
including themselves, there are six people total in support. And there's 11 people on the county council, and they just need a simple majority to pass it. You mentioned that maybe sales has decided she doesn't like now we talked about the 2502, the main one, but there's also the pilot proposal with related to converting commercial to residential.
Exactly.
And
That's
that's getting a huge amount.
225E, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I saw their meeting this week, and what they said was they said that sales is opposed to this because there weren't enough studies on the effects or concerns. They weren't paying attention to the concerns, and basically, I mean, this is a product of what they did in the pandemic is that they closed down a lot of businesses. A lot of businesses closed shop, and those office spaces were made vacant because of that. So, and now we have a lot of vacant office space, and now they want to make them housing. So it's something that they had planned, and they did this on purpose. So, and my question is like, okay, so you have this demand for housing that is supposedly high. I don't see it. Aside for the young people that may be in their 20s, early 30s, but other than that, I don't see that demographic to be a huge portion of the demand that is supposedly out there. I think as what I've been able to see is a lot of people are leaving the county. A lot of businesses are leaving the county, and I don't see this as a viable I guess a reason why we need to be concerned about this. Now, this now is the new initiative for affordable housing. So when did you start covering affordable housing and like
Oh, just no, I tend to just pick up something that interests me
mm,
and do a deep dive on it. I don't necessarily do it for years and years and years. I just picked it up at the beginning of September, I think.
nice.
I kept saying, no, I don't have time, but so many other people were busy with the national election. I
Mm.
decided, and people were that I know who are activists were paying attention to this, but weren't able. I thought that would be in a good position to do the deep dive that needed to do it. And
So what was the plan before the Now initiative?
it was called Attainable Housing Strategies Initiative. And now that would have affected 82% of housing in the county. So with both initiatives, I see it as a way, okay, with the 82%, what they didn't realize that would wake up a sleeping giant, and all these people all over the county were incredibly upset. Um, we were accused of being racist because so many of the people coming to the sessions, were white rich people, but that exactly tells the full picture. There are plenty of people who are not white and rich who feel that this would cause some gentrification in their neighborhoods. And and I find it insulting that you would say to someone who scrimped and saved, got a house that's, now worth $500,000, and being told, and they've made their American dream, and they're being told, no, that's not good enough, and you need to maybe tear that down and put up apartment buildings. So the attainable housing, let me go back. So it was affecting 82%. It was going to do the duplexes, the triplexes. It was also doing quadplexes and townhouses and apartment buildings. And what's funny is with both plans, the apartment houses can only have up to 19 units because if you go to 20 units, it triggers the MPDU, the affordability guidelines that would require the developers to put in more affordable. So what was particularly bad with the Attainable Housing Strategies Initiative is it had absolutely nothing to help create anything remotely affordable. Whether it was creating $800,000 houses or $2 million houses, depending on what part of the county you're in. Those were going to cost, those were market rate, and were going to cost more than the housing that they were going to take down. Now, the attainable housing also was by right, which means that it didn't have to go through any kind of planning process. An individual could own a house and have it torn down and something else put in um, on their own. Whereas normally, when big developments happen, big changes happen, you go through a master plan process. And the master plan process includes a huge amount of citizen involvement. And so this wouldn't include that. And the now proposal improves it a little bit because it's no longer by right, but still it's not all the way to the master plan process. So that was pretty much it with the attainable housing. They didn't have they weren't, one of the big objections was that they weren't doing anything about these big commercial properties like the Geico property, and why couldn't they develop that? And so that's why the new proposal includes that. That's not a panacea either. So the same issues with infrastructure, and when you're talking about 82% of the county, it's, just
Yes.
multiplies how
And
much the infrastructure issue is.
and what I heard also this week from Friedson and others are talking about this, 225, making office spaces into housing, is that they're saying, yeah, we need taxes, we need money to make this work, so we're gonna just increase taxes. He talks about it as if this was okay, and I mean, it's not enough that residents in the county have been basically bullied by the county with the tax increases. I mean, we just had one last year, and then we're talking about another
Yeah.
one this year of
Well,
three
yeah,
point.
that's Elridge who wants to increase the
Yeah,
tax.
and then no,
Yeah.
no. Friedson talked about the taxes and the fees, the trash fees that are going up, that are going to pay for this for these
Mhm.
initiatives. So, and I don't see this as a viable option. I don't think it's needed. I don't think it's. I think the first thing the county needs to do is address security and address the quality of life that is rapidly declining all over the county. And yes, housing is an issue, but that's not number one. So we need to,
Yeah.
the county needs to rethink its economic policy so it could attract business, industries, big box companies, and actually start creating an environment where high-paying jobs are created, and people are how you say it, are incentivized to come to live in Montgomery County, because
Right.
most of the people I talk to, friends, family, and residents, when I go out, is like, yeah, they're thinking about moving out because they can't afford to live in the county anymore. And I'm not talking about, the lower class, residents who make less than $100,000 a year. I'm talking about the affluent, two income houses that are having a dire time with the economy, and the crime is out of hand, definitely. Any final thoughts on this now initiative, Amy?
Okay, so there's going to be a very important meeting on Monday afternoon at the with the subcommittee that deals with these with zoning type issues. It's called PHP, and that's Friedson and Jawando, and one other. Um, I'm going to try to attend that, and what's going to happen is, depending on whether the budget negotiations slow things down, even with all the people complaining, this whole process could result in new zoning text amendments being enforced this fall. So the big question is, how much of this new development will actually occur?
Yeah, I think it's an issue residents need to be concerned about because it affects them, especially if you live in those corridors. University Boulevard. Can you repeat those corridors again, please?
Oh, well, there's a whole bunch of them. And there is a map on the planning board website that'll show you. It's University Boulevard, maybe Randolph, Georgia, Massachusetts, Wisconsin, Rockville Pike, Old Georgetown Road has a few. And yeah, so we're now shifting into fighting against the property tax,
Yeah.
3.5%.
So,
And so
yeah,
that's there's just always something to be very upset with this county council.
exactly. So, for those of you who are watching and listening don't know, this initiative about the affordable housing and the corridors aligns 100% with the UN Agenda 2030. And
Uh-huh.
also, it also aligns very well with Thrive 2050, which is a local plan of the UN Agenda 2030. So the county is full on board with pushing this agenda. So what is this agenda? What is the end goal? To create smart cities. So that's what the county is doing. They're pushing the smart cities. So those corridors that we talked about today are part of the smart cities that the county wants to implement. So heads up,
Yeah,
MoCo.
but they, unlike smart growth, which was always focused more around a metro station, a big transportation hub, they're trying to do this along roads where they're just hoping there'll be a lot of bus transportation.
That's why they're pushing everything electric, and that's why they're pushing the purple line as well in
Hmm.
at the state level. Wow. Yeah. Thank you for the information. I think residents are gonna enjoy, and they're gonna take advantage of this information and get active. Like I said before, you need to get active. You need to call the GOP office and see what you can do, or attend these public hearings from the council, and follow the information in Twitter and Facebook and everywhere, and Telegram also. So thanks again, Amy, for your time, and I'm sure we're gonna the public's gonna want to hear your updates, and just keep us posted in what's going on. Thanks
Okay,
again.
you're welcome.
So yeah, this has been a special report from MoCo Resistance. You've heard the details. You've heard the issues that are around this new now program, and as a resident, this should concern you big time. This should make you aware that the council is again not addressing the issues that are relevant to the county. Who is interested in affordable housing? Okay, that there might be a problem, but there are a lot of people living in the county as businesses. So the notion that the county wants to sell to the residents that there's a housing problem, as a housing crisis, it's not real. It's incorrect. We're going to show more data on that later on, but as of now, this plan is going forward. So we need to fight this. So as if you live in one of those districts that have those corridors, Randolph Road, University Boulevard, then you need to get active. And of course, we always say a well-informed resident is a responsible resident. I'd like to thank you for your time, for watching us today. This has been a special report from MoCo Resistance. Thank you very much, and please follow us at X, Facebook, and subscribe to our channels in YouTube, Rumble, Telegram, and TikTok. We'd like to get this information out to as many people as we can all over the county. So thanks again. Until next time.